This is Tom Jacobs from tdjacobs.com. I'm an evolutionary astrologer, also an energy worker, a channel, and a medium. And at tdjacobs.com, you'll find a bunch of tools to help you along your journey, including the Soul's Journey Soundbite database, which is a revolutionary astrology learning tool if you're into evolutionary astrology and want to understand what soul is about, the journey of soul, and how to see it in an astrology chart. Also, how to identify karma in a chart, and also learn a bunch of tips and tricks on how to change it. Yes, karma can be changed. So this week I just updated the Soul's Journey Soundbite database. Before it was almost 490 records, and now it's 534. So I added over 40 records. And these are 15 to 20 minute pre-recorded MP3 readings. They're blind readings that I do for clients. And it's an overview of the entire life journey and all the major themes that the person has to deal with. Clients love the Soundbite database or their own Soundbites, and I created the database to help my students and those interested in learning evolutionary astrology to be able to draw on this resource. At that time, it was almost 500 readings. That's, it's quite a lot of info in these short little 15 to 20 minute packets. So if you're interested in your own Soul's Journey Soundbite reading, go to tdjacobs.com on the consultations page, and it's one of the options that I offer. For the database, since I just updated it this week, and I also recently released Evolutionary Astrology Basics 1 as a home study course that you can use at your own pace, instead of me scheduling a class and then people who want to take it can't take it and whatever, all that runaround. And so anyway, you can check that out as another tool. So I thought I would do another what can you do with the Soul's Journey Soundbite database video. There are already two. One is Mars square Pluto aspects, and the other one is Saturn conjunct square and opposite the south node, or conjunct the north node, talking about karmic issues regarding both of those. So today I'm going to focus on the third step of the karmic story, which is a south node ruler by sign. And my four-step process is Pluto, number one, tells me about what the empowerment journey the soul lays out for the human to experience. What painful or disempowering experiences will the person have that lead to confidence and strength once that person faces fear and becomes stronger, as a result. So with our shadow work, right, with Pluto, we have to transform in the face of what hurts or what we fear or what we regret or shame ourselves for or others have shamed us for. So that's step one. Step two is, what does a person think the world is like? How has the person been conditioned in many lifetimes by family of origin and community? That's a south node itself. And that is this, way of seeing the world, this lens through which you tend to see the world that's familiar, and you might retreat to it, or all humans do, because it's familiar. Now, then the third step of the story is a south node ruler by sign. And that tells me about how the individual, the chart holder, shows up as a unique individual in many lifetimes with special skills and talents and interests that might differ quite a lot from the family of origin represented in the chart by the south node. So it's a deep level of identity, multi-life identity represented by the south node ruler in a chart. And I should say I use traditional rulers for this. So a Scorpio is ruled by Mars traditionally, Pisces by Jupiter, and Aquarius by Saturn. So when I do these charts like this, I do use all the outer planets, but I don't use them as the ruler of the south node. It's the only traditional thing I do. I can't tell you why it works. It just works. When I wrote the Soul's Journey 1, that first volume in the trilogy in 2009, 2010, that I was using either one, Pluto or Mars, Neptune or Jupiter, or whatever. But I no longer do that. I no longer do that. So I focus only on the traditional rulers. So I'm going to pull up the database and show you what it looks like and how to do a search here. So when you sign into the database, if you you can sign up monthly, yearly, or for a 5-day trial through my site. And I do have on the yearly subscription or membership, I do have a perk rate or a discounted rate for my monthly subscribers, the people who follow my monthly forecasting service. You can look that up on my site as well. But here's what, when you sign in, this is what it looks like. And always Cancer 1, CN001 shows up. And there's a search box here. Keep in mind that up here in the upper right, this search box is for my whole site. So what you want is the search box that is just under Search the Soul's Journey Soundbite database. I think it's pretty obvious, but I just wanted to include that. So the way that, like if you notice here in Cancer 1, under South Node aspects, here are your South Node ruler aspects, there's a certain convention in how this is phrased. South Node ruler conjunct Lilith, South Node ruler quincunx Saturn. So there's a convention here where we want South Node, or SN, SN ruler, and then the aspect, and then the planet we're talking about. So if you just put in South Node ruler square, all the records out of the 534 that have any square to the South Node ruler will be returned. And if you just put South Node ruler Pluto, you won't get anything because it has to be worded precisely. So I'm going to explain to you what it means to have a conjunction to the South Node ruler. So I'm going to here South Node, whoops, not SB. Moon's in Pisces today, and I've been doing typos and speakos all day. South Node ruler conjunct Pluto. And then it'll take a second, and then all the records that have that aspect will show up. So here I have Capricorn 8, Leo 30, Leo 40. Let's just scroll down. Let's just choose Leo 119. Now, if you click on the record, or click anywhere in the record, the individual record will show up. But also the same is true if you click on this chart, you will get the chart up, and then when, okay, you get, so we'll just look at the chart here. So this happens to be one that doesn't have a birth time. Some of those in the database, of course, don't, because not everybody knows their birth time. So I'll make the chart big. So South Node is, let's see, yeah, South Node's in Scorpio up here. And the ruler, again, traditional ruler, is Mars. And so Mars is down here at 20 Leo. And that is it's just 8 degrees in 1 minute from Pluto. Typically I use 8 degrees for orb, but obviously I counted this one because it was so close. So the idea is the South Node in Scorpio, this person is born into family environments who see the world through a scorpionic lens. And that, of course, is saturated with Chiron. So there's wounding and healing and, you know, difficulty dealing with emotions and dealing with grief and anger. And then the South Node ruler, this person shows up as a Leo person in a bunch of lifetimes. So coming from the Scorpionic South Node, but the person shows up as a Leo type person. If we had the house, and the other examples will probably have houses included. So South Node ruler person shows up, South Node ruler shows up as a Leo person, so needing to express something unique and individual. And that South Node ruler is conjunct Pluto, so the need to be intense, the need to be bluntly honest, you know, the need to transform, right? That's what Pluto represents. It can represent fears and power over power under dynamics, but those are kind of, you know, extensions of the deep need. The core part of it is the need to transform and deal with shadow work. So this person will show up with a personal opinion, strong personal opinions, and a strong personal agenda, a South Node ruler in Leo. And then conjunct Pluto, the person will need to tell the truth. And because of that, when Plutonian people do their jobs, other people sometimes make them wrong because Plutonian people disturb the status quo. So just saying, you know, South Node's ruler is in Leo, blah, 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 it's even conjunct Saturn, there's a story in here. And yet knowing that it's conjunct Pluto radically changes your interpretation because that person shows up carrying an energy of disruption that many people, most people, don't even like. So we know that this person's deep layer of identity in many lifetimes is wrapped up with Plutonian issues and the reality of how others respond. So this person will be deeply driven to express a personal truth, but also may get backlash because it makes other people uncomfortable sometimes to hear difficult truths. This person in Leo, if this person is an artist or doing creative work, it will have a Plutonian element to it. And so that may have like a truth that hurts. You know, like when you somebody says, "Oh, I wrote this novel. Would you like to read it, friend?" And you read it, and it's like devastating because there's something so real and human and difficult to deal with because it's so deeply honest and personal. That's what this kind of creativity would be like. So we know in many lifetimes this person shows up with a Plutonian edge, and you know, we have to understand that some people don't like that. So that's one example of Pluto conjunct the South Node ruler. Now this opened up in a new tab, so I'm going to close this tab, and now this is the record individually. As I said, anywhere in the data sheet view that you click, it will pull up. Now if I wanted to hear that Soundbite MP3, I go 119 Soundbite, and that will pop up in a new window and play. So you can hear my interpretation of the entire story. And that was really the point of getting the Soundbite done, was getting it launched and out and available, is so that you can learn from how I delineate charts from an evolutionary astrology or karmic multi-life standpoint. So then you can either hit back in your browser up here, or you can hit the little return window down here. I'm going to do that. It'll take a second, and it'll take us back to the data set, which are all those that have the South Node ruler conjunct Pluto. Remember, that was the phrase I used. So I'm going to give you another example of that because I love doing this. Let us scroll down here a little bit. Let's go to page 2 of these results. Okay, and then we have, let's choose Libra 76. Okay, so we'll click on the chart. Okay, so now this time we do have a birth time, and we have the South Node is, so you see the North Node in Cancer, South Node's in Capricorn, always opposite, at 357 Capricorn in the 4th. So this person comes from a family system where there are rules, and there's some rigid structure, but Neptune's here, so it's also maybe people are confused about rules and structure, they're not sure what the point is, blah, blah, blah. Well, then the South Node ruler by sign is Saturn, of course, it rules Capricorn. So we go to the 2nd house in Scorpio. So this person shows up as needing to, again, tell the truth about 2nd house, his or her value system. Actually, we can scroll up and see that this is a female. So her value system. Many lifetimes that she shows up as doing that, and she's carrying Pluto in Libra with her, saturating her identity in many lifetimes in a Scorpio 2nd house context is Libra Pluto in the 2nd house. So the need to be firm and intense and passionate about living according to her own value system and doing things the way she wants and using her own money the way she wants. Sometimes Pluto and Libra people can have issues with listening to other people's opinions too much, especially with a 4th house South Node. If you listen to who your family says you're supposed to be, not that they're being malicious and trying to shape you, they're genuinely, most of the time, trying to help you, you know, survive in the world as they understand it. But you have to go your own way when you have Pluto and the South Node ruler in the 2nd house. And so Pluto conjunct South Node ruler, there's an intense version of, don't try to control me, I have to live according to my own values. And of course that Pluto is actually square the moon, so there's all moon in Cancer, so there's also a thing about control by family too, which in this MP3 I would have explained. Okay, so again, we can go back. Now the aspects I cover in the database are conjunctions, squares, oppositions, and quincunxes. Because with sextiles and trines, when I'm teaching karmic astrology, I want my students to understand, I want you to get that no one will ever come to you complaining because Venus sextiles their Pluto or Jupiter trines their South Node. That does not create the kind of tension, confusion, and difficulty that, you know, that makes people go to astrologers and seek counseling. So let's try another aspect here. South Node ruler, and I'll spell it right this time. South Node ruler square Venus. Okay, so we'll scroll down here. 30 examples of this. So let's just choose Libra. Actually, let me try not to choose Libra for a second. Yeah, let's do Libra 45. Let's do this one. Okay, so over here in the 7th house, and this, let me just see, this is a woman again. So, or she's still a woman, but this chart is another female's chart. So Pluto's over here at 26, almost 27, Libra in the 7th house. So this Plutonian journey, oh no, wait, sorry, South Node ruler square Venus. I'm confused because everything's in Pisces. Okay, so let's look at the South Node. Where is that? That is in, why can't I find it? Because of my brain. Okay, so that is North Node's in Cancer, South Node's in Capricorn down here. And that's where we have South Node ruler is Saturn, so it's square the Venus. So that's what we're going to focus on. Of course, my brain just went into reading a soundbite mode to do all the levels of analysis. But South Node ruler is in Libra in the 7th. So this person in many lifetimes shows up to be helpful to others, caring about others, meeting their needs, deferring to them, guessing their needs, being a chameleon perhaps to make life better for other people, maybe bending over backwards to try to make relationships better. And the square to the South Node ruler, as I said, with conjunctions, it's like that saturates the identity, right? With squares to it, that person will find conflict and tension, pressure from, and criticism from and toward Venus people in this case. So people who show up as Venus and Capricorn in the 10th will pressure this person or have different ways of doing things and tell this chart holder, you should do it differently. Because planets that are square each other say to each other, you're doing it wrong. But in this case, Saturn as a South Node ruler is an indicator of this chart holder's multi-life identity. So other people will show up as this Venus and Capricorn in the 10th. And, think about that. Venus people, they're people you like or who like you, people you're attracted to or are attracted to you. They're artists or they're charming. They're bridge builders and negotiators and diplomats. They're artists. In Capricorn in the 10th, they're really disciplined and they're working towards something. They're creating something that matters to them. They might be very ambitious. It might be at work, or it might be somebody who's in this chart holder's personal life who is very focused on his or her job. And just because it's Venus doesn't mean it has to be a woman. It's people you're close to, friends, lovers, intimates, that kind of thing when Venus shows up as other people. So somebody else's ambition may prevent building bridges and harmony, which is what the South Node ruler in Libra in the 7th really wants. So you can see this setup for tension. Let's spend the weekend together, this chart holder says. And the partner says, oh, I have these 3 things for work. Now, the chart holder might say, but you don't have to do those for another 2 weeks. So spend some time with me. Let's reconnect. And that other person, the partner, could just be very focused on work at the exclusion of the relationship, and that would be difficult. So that's pressure, that's tension, there's criticism in there. All right, so let's go back, and I want to give you an example of an opposition to the South Node ruler. I'll just wait a second. I didn't do it right. Oh, it's just taking a little while. It's working. Okay, so up here in the search box, South Node ruler, opposite, let's say moon. Okay, so there are some Leos. Let's scroll down. Yeah, here's a Sagittarius generation, which is born from early 1995 to early 2008, so a younger person. This is this is Scorpio. Sorry, so that's 1984 to 95. So yeah, let's look at the Scorpio one. So Pluto. No, let's see what we're doing. South Node ruler opposite. South Node's in Gemini, and right, always when you see the North Node here, the South Node's always opposite. So Gemini in the first. So that means the ruler is Mercury, and we go down here to Virgo in the 5th house. and that's opposing moon and Pisces in the 11th. So South Node ruler in the 5th house says this person has a personal agenda, strong creative expression, needs to debate, needs to assert ego, needs to develop and feed ego, and creative expression and personal expression. So this person, it's central to this person's identity to have opinions and to share them and to be seen as an individual. This is in Virgo. The person's trying to do it in a helpful way or in a way that makes life better or in an analytical way that is based in logic and science and tried and true methods. So the South Node ruler here is conjunct Juno, so the person shows up committed to this personal expression. Juno's about commitment. Conjunct Sun, it amplifies the idea of having an opinion and needing to develop and express personal individualized ego. Now that opposing moon in Pisces in the 11th. So oppositions to the South Node ruler say people in groups and situations block him or her that are represented by this moon in Pisces. So moon people like deer in the headlights, or you can't do that, stop, hold you in place. They might challenge you to rethink what you're doing, but that might slow you down, and that can be difficult. So moon people are people you're close to. Don't assume it's a woman. Again, don't assume it's a woman, or if it's family, then it has to be mother. Don't assume that if you see moon. It's people you're close to in a personal kin-like way. People you have commitments to. People you're personally bonded to in a really deep, heartfelt way. And it can be literal family and literal mother as well, but don't assume it could only be mother. Now, this person, Virgo in the 5th house, shows up with this Virgo 5th house identity. I need to express myself in a particular way. I need to be very detail-oriented, and I need to arrive at my personal opinions through a process of analysis, ranking, and discernment. That's 5th house Virgo. And conjunct Juno, I have to be committed to it, and conjunct Sun, I have to make some noise. Opposing moon in the 11th house, opposing family who are oriented toward social reality, groups, groupthink, what seems socially appropriate, and fitting in, keeping up with the Joneses. These are ideas that can go with the 11th house. So some people in the family, or one person, is surrendered to the expectations of society. Pisces, surrender to the expectations of society and identifies as part of the group, 11th house. Well, we have a natural opposition here. So this person, somebody in the person's family, but it would be somebody in a bunch of lifetimes, not the same person, but at least a person, who is saying, why are you making so much noise? Just go along to get along. Just fit in already. Like, why do you have to be so special? And what's wrong with you and your selfishness? Now, that's a negative way of saying it. It can also be, like, why do you think you're so important? We're all in this together. It can seem very noble and positive as well. But anyway, in a bunch of lifetimes, this person will receive that sense of being blocked or stopped or challenged. This can also be, we have expectations of what we think works in the world, 11th house, and we'll support you, moon, if you do what we think you should do. Like, imagine a woman 100 years ago when, or just under 100 years ago, when people were starting to fly. People were training to be pilots. And this young woman says, you know, she's 17, 18, she says, when I leave home, I'm going to go learn how to be a pilot. And the parents say, well, I mean, you can go be somebody's wife, you could marry a pilot, or just because of social expectations of what women do and don't do. Or even, well, you could do one of these 3 professions, and that's acceptable. So think about this person needing to express herself and finding out that the family seems not to support her. So that is the kind of idea. And in the Soul's Journey Soundbite itself, in the MP3 reading, I explain this in detail, including what it means that that moon is a conjunct Vesta. So they're devoted to their surrender to social norms. So that is going to take us to the end of this. Thanks for your time and energy. As I said at the beginning of the video, I just updated the database, and it's now 534 records, that many readings that you can listen to. And you can, again, search if Pluto's retro, what sign the South Node's in, what house the South Node's in, all the aspects to Pluto, South Node, and South Node ruler. You can search by gender, birth year, you can organize things. So check out the other videos on YouTube that I have about the Soul's Journey Soundbite database, and you can become a member at tdjacobs.com under Learn Astrology, a 5-day trial or a monthly membership or a year of access. And I'll be updating it probably a couple times per year. In total every year, maybe 80 to 90, depending on how many are ordered. Every few months I'm going to sit down and update the database that way. And also check out Evolutionary Astrology Basics 1, the home study course, to do at your own pace on your own. Take care, and thanks for your time and energy. Bye-bye.